Good evening. Welcome to the Northampton School Board meeting for May 16th, 2019. Welcome. We're going to call the meeting to order and begin with the approval of our minutes for April 18th. Do we have a motion for those?
Move we approve the minutes for April 18th.
And a
Public and
second?
not,
Yeah, there's non-public.
Yeah.
I second.
Okay. Any changes, questions, comments, additions, subtractions? No. All right. All those in favor? Great. Thank you for nothing. Before we get to the next item, unless anyone has any objection, I want to move two items up the agenda. One is the Green Team presentation, and then also we're going to move up the Assistant Superintendent's report because we have a presentation from our teachers as well. So we'll move those up and do those first. All right. So we will go and ask our Green Team to join us. And I'm going to slide out of the way because they have some stuff on the screen.
Me too. You're good.
Thank you.
Hello and good evening. We are the Green Team. For a few months now, we have focused on making our school greener by making it more environmentally friendly. We have come together by Ginger Friedman and I talking to Dr. Anderson about getting recycling back in the school. We wanted more students to participate in this process as well. With the help of Mrs. Fields, Anna Spalding, and other parents and involved students, we bring to you the Green Team. We have many initiatives, but we are here to talk about one: composting.
The Green Team. What are our goals? Create a reduced waste center for our cafeteria, improve the material choice for single-use cafeteria items, educate students to use less, reduce, and recycle. Get metal utensils for the cafeteria. Help clean up our community. Have we reached any of our goals? Yes!
We have brought back recycling to the cafeteria. After a bit of planning with Mrs. Fields, a trip to visit Hampton Falls to observe how their recycling center works, a couple of new recycling bins, and a ton of volunteer help during lunch, we have created a system for recycling in the cafeteria once again.
Reduce the use of plastic straws. We encourage students to think before they take. Many students choose to stop using what they did not need. Straws are always available to anyone who needs one. Hopefully, the future will offer compostable ones.
We knew that a lot of our initiatives cost money. We met with PAL in March to see if they would like to help support our cause. We presented data that we had gathered about our school's use of plastic utensils. The data was organized into a graph that showed the money we spent on plastic utensils versus the cost of buying metal utensils. PAL agreed that this was an excellent use of the capital, but wanted us to work for the money. We wanted to work for it too. This is a chart that shows when it will become more cost efficient to have metal utensils and not use the plastic ones anymore, which is about April of 2020.
Basketball game to raise capital for the utensils. We supported PAL at the Police vs. Firefighters basketball game. Our team members sold baked goods at the concession stands as we all as discovered books from the library. We raised $845, $450 for silverware, and then $395 remaining.
Metal utensils. Metal utensils. We now have metal utensils in the cafeteria. Plastic utensils in our school have been eliminated. We collect trash before and after the elimination of plastic utensils, and the amount of trash has gone down a lot.
The school assembly to educate our students on single-use plastics. We presented a slideshow to the entire school. The presentation focused on plastic pollution in the ocean and ways to fix the problem. We showed the students small ways they can make a difference. We even had a guest speaker come in and show us a surfboard made of Dunkin' Donuts styrofoam cups.
Healthy U Day. The green team helped out in Healthy U Day. We set up a table to teach students about composting. We showed a way students could compost at home to make a great fertilizer for your home garden. Schoolyard cleanup. On April 19th, to celebrate Earth Day, Green Team members met after school, clean up trash around the school grounds, the playground, softball field, side fences, and spring clean the garden beds. They also planted the front door planters with annuals and added additional flowering plants to the front gardens.
Contest. Upcycle your trash into something useful. Our team created a contest to challenge kids to see what they could make from trash. We were inspired by the gentleman who created the trash surfboard, and we wanted to see what our own creative NHS students could create.
To meet our next goal, we need your help. Composting.
What is composting? Composting is a natural process of recycling organic material, such as leaves and vegetable scraps, into a rich soil. For example, if you buy a salad from the cafeteria and you don't finish it all, you would put the leftover salad into the composting bin. When you compost your leftover food, the food gets broken down into nutrients, which then creates nutrient-rich soil, which could be added to gardens.
Why compost? Composting is a green alternative to throwing things away. We need composting because currently there is a lot of waste coming from our school. Some things are thrown out without even being used. This would allow the items that would usually end up in a plastic bag in a landfill to be recycled back into our Earth's soils.
To get the ball rolling, we started getting the old composter going next to the greenhouse, filled it with organic debris, kitchen scraps, rainwater, and soil. We composted a letter asking teachers if we can compost leftover snacks in their classrooms. Green Team will provide small lidded containers to collect compostable materials in classrooms. Team members will collect the containers and bring them to our composter every Thursday morning. We got great feedback. Already, many teachers would like to participate. This will allow the Green Team a chance to educate the students before next year so we can have a better chance at being successful.
For the 2019 and 2020 school year, the cost of Mr. Fox composting at NHS will be $2,251.75. Along with the services of Mr. Fox composting, we will be provided with 6 32-gallon bins with compostable liners. These liners will be picked up once a week, and the processed compost will be available in the spring if you ask for it, and it will not have a price. It can be used in our greenhouses and gardens to grow our own vegetables.
Thank you, guys. job, guys.
Questions for our green team?
I have a question.
Yes.
Can I bring my leaves from my house over to your compost pile in the fall?
Get enough leaves from the school.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There's a lot already. Yeah, we've gotten a lot from the teachers in their classrooms this morning. We've brought it out there. These guys are here 7:30 in the morning.
Any more questions?
Oh, like cutting your mouth off.
I will just say that if you have somebody that wants your compost, I have a pickup truck and a trailer, and if you guys want to use the trailer with me driving, I'd be happy to deliver your compost for you.
Thank you.
I'm really impressed with not only your presentation, but with all the work you did ahead of time and the initiative that you guys took. Because you're getting adults involved, you're getting other kids involved, you're making a good case about it, and you really are working as a team. It's great to see all of you passing the microphone back and forth, up and down.
Yep. Well done.
Yep.
Yeah, that's one of the things I really like about, we have kindergartners through 8th graders, preschooler through 8th graders participating.
Who's the youngest? Great, terrific. Well done.
All right, good job. Thanks.
We're actually Title 4A might come in.
Are you using the screen or are we?
You touch it twice.
It's short money. I'm just wondering. What his business model is. I mean,
I think he keeps the compost.
he keeps the compost and sells it to people. Right. So he's making.
Mr. Fox or
Yeah, oh no, that's a company.
He's making.
Yeah.
He's making it on both ends, right?
So he does all the pickup and probably has a massive compost pile.
Right.
And then keeps track of how much you've sent in, and then if you want it back, he delivers it back, but if not, he sells it.
Yeah. He's making it on both ends.
Dear God.
All right. So. Oh, thank you, Dan. All right.
Let's get quiet.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you all. We're going to do one more item out of order, and Rana's presentation involves some of our faculty here, so I'll hand it over to you, and you can tell us what we're doing.
Thank you. So it's more like my report, and we're going to have a presentation from our teachers. So we're circling back around from what we've been talking about all year long. If you look at the competency-based education plan that I had shared, I believe it was this summer in the fall, looking at our 5-year plan, we said that this year we had chosen as a next step to focus on quality performance assessments. And that was a way for us to be sure we had articulated curriculum connected to our competencies, articulated competencies connected to the standards, and that it would also help to propel us forward in looking at our instructional practices, because we had to know what we're teaching, how we're teaching it, in order to assess our students. And as I've mentioned recently, we committed to 45 quality performance assessments, and we have 96. So huge congratulations to our teachers. Such a commitment with our administrative teams, and a lot of collaboration. So we touched a little bit on the fact that how do we go about this and developing them, in building our bank. We are using a Google platform that I set up prior to our April 3rd day based on departments and then grade levels. And the teachers built their performance assessments throughout the year, received lots of feedback from one another within their grade level teams, with their administrators, along with John Vanderels. Becca was certainly very active in this school, and I was active in many of the other schools and some portions of this school as well. And then we had the teachers do a protocol with one another. And then on our SAU day, they all did this protocol. They met with teachers from different schools similar grade levels, if not the same, did the protocol again, and were able to make several revisions. And now we have the bank open for a couple more weeks, and they're refining, making those revisions, and we're locking down the bank. And there will be just a review to see what we have there. And for all the teachers to be able to access, it was certainly a really rich experience. So we thought that what would make sense was that for you all to see a product, an example of a product. And as John Vanderals has shared with you many times, and we continue to review, there's real richness when we look at integration. And you can see the kids today talking about the green team. There were many competencies there that they were absolutely able to demonstrate. Just in the arts alone, one is presenting or performing alone or in a group of others. And we saw that. And then if I look at some of the ELA and giving speeches and their articulation, very enthusiastic young presenter there. So very, very proud moment for Northampton as usual. So we have a great example here of a unified team. We have 3 teachers who work together to come up with a great quality performance assessment for their students, and they're willing to share for 10 minutes on what they've done with their students and the progress they've made here. So I'm very thankful. I don't think they're going to hook you, but I said 10 minutes. So
That was the same with the contents.
thank you very much for coming tonight, you guys.
Well, thank you for having us. It's always a nice thing to be able to showcase what we do in class. I'm Pat Yetton. I've been teaching pre-K to 8 PE here for 28 years, I think. So my mind starts racing whenever they say integrating and working together. And I know I look at Dan and Marcia and I go, oh, we got to do something together with this. And we first thought about a grade level that would really buy into it in middle school. And 6th grade seemed to be a great match for what we wanted to do. Believe it or not, for me, students have got to be able to create a personal workout by the end of 6th grade. So I decided I'm going to use that based on they wanted us doing it in January, February, March. So that's when I would usually do that. So we had fitness testing first, and then I conferenced with them, and then I showed them. I have all these posters because I thought kids need to learn you don't need a fancy exercise equipment to work out. So I have all of these posters that I had up around the gym: cardio, strength, flexibility, and balance. And I had a sheet for them, they filled it out, and we conferenced about, did you need to work on your core? What did you need to work on out of your fitness tests? And they would pick from these exercises, and then we'd have music going, and they would do a workout when they came to class. They knew that was what they were going to do. And worked out very well. I realized I needed more time to actually do something like this. So next year I would do it earlier and, I actually did it for 6 weeks, but I need to do it even longer than that. So then Dan, his part.
Right. So, as we know, looking for connections within middle school curriculum, that's how they learn best. So they also love to listen to music, so it made sense, and they were listening to music as they were doing your part, to have them create a playlist that would support their workout. So the key to that being that we learned about the elements of music. We did some study about, well, how does music affect us? Think about movies. Think about the effects that composers, how they use those elements and combine them to create certain effects. Most of us, when we work out, right, we listen to music. We put the pods in, we get it going, and it helps us to, perform the workout, regulate our tempo as we're exercising. The danger with middle school students is, of course, that if you tell them, create a playlist for your workout, okay, I like this song, so that's what we're going to do. But I wanted them to think deeper, all right? And that's one of those 21st century learning skills, is critical thinking, making connections, that deeper level 4 learning that we think about. So that was their task in order to do that. One of the challenges I ran into is just finding a source of music that we can use, that we can later use whenever we present. so that everything is, appropriate for that kind of, for that kind of, so Kid Bops next year. I'd be looking for a subscription, I think that's where we're going with that. But the kids did, I think, a great job. They really, really enjoyed that. They dug right into it. We kind of used iTunes as kind of our model this year to go on and to be able to pull music from. So that led us to thinking about, movement.
Woohoo.
and-
Well, with the arts, I can connect to just about anything, let me tell you. So when Pat brought up that she was going to do something with PE for balance and movement, I'm like, okay. So Alexander Calder is a famous artist. This is one of his works. And he is all about balance and movement in his sculptures. He makes these humongous sculptures. He makes small ones. There's tons and tons of artists that make balance and movement sculptures. So because Pat and Dan were going to be working with PE and making playlists for workouts, and Pat was going to be doing workouts, what I did is I decided, let's have the kids pose and make these, just come up with these weird poses where they have to show that they're balanced. So they could pose on one foot, they could pose with someone else, they could be holding something. They just had to pose in some weird, fun way that showed that they were balanced. And kids love to have their photos taken. I don't know if you know that. So I have, if anybody wants photos of any 6th graders, I've got about 100, 200 photos of all these kids because they do a pose and then, no, I want to do another one. Let me do another one. That one wasn't good enough. So some of the poses, let me show you. We had some kids that could, were standing, or they'd stand on one foot. And then as they started to see what everybody else was doing, I ended up getting like poses. I don't know if you can see that. But I ended up getting these kinds of poses where, okay, one kid is doing a back bend and the other kid has their hands on the stomach and they're doing the feet in the air, which never in a million years could I say, you have to do this. But if you open it up and say, do whatever you want, just pose, you get this. Then there's kids that decided to pose together and just make some fun things. And they knew that with these poses, they were then going to have to create a sculpture that showed balance. And so the next step for them was they had to draw. They had their picture, I took the picture, then they got their photo. Then they had to take that photo and then think about the materials that they were going to use to create their sculpture and do a sketch of what they thought the sculpture was going to look like. And this is after, I showed Calder and I showed a lot of art history things. So they knew what they were going to be doing. And they have a lot of access to different kinds of materials in the art room. Most of them kind of went with wire, which is fine because that was the example we went with. But I want to show you what they did so they did, I'm caught. All right. They did, where's the picture of these girls? Okay, so here's the picture. And then, so they did that. And then they had to go around and find things that looked like the picture, but I tried to make them do it where it didn't have to look like bodies per se. It could look abstract it, make it just shapes and get outside of the literal thinking that you normally do and just use shapes and make an interesting sculpture out of this. So this is like one of them, and they're just so cool when they're all together. Then I have this girl, Dylan did, she's got a picture posing. They're posing. Some of the kids just like to do things together, so they're posing all together in a big, huge line. And then the drawings are really simple, but it's just to give them an idea of what they're going to do for the next step. And so they have the 2D portion of it and the 3D portion of it. So the 3D comes from the 2D, and so this is her little 3-dimensional, and these are all the little faces that happened. And I really tried to get them away from doing hands and drawing faces on here. Let's do abstract Alexander Calder. And they did. Most of them pretty much did. We've got some glue sticks that are cut in half. These, these are left over from the tree mural that we did. So those were hanging around, so we have those.
Recycling.
This was backstage, right? My 2x4 backstage when I'm building sets. We got extra ones of those. And then I have, these were those two girls that were together. Can you hold up that picture, Pat, just so they can see how cool it is? I don't know if they're the right way, but so they wanted them separate, but have put so that they stand together. So I have the whole sixth grade, each sixth grader did one, so they're all on display, or most of them are on display out in the hallway there, and they look great all together. They're very simple, but what they learned is they learned how to show something with balance, how to make something stand, and a lot of them started to fall over. You know, they would have just one piece of wire, and it's like, oh, that's not going to work. What are you going to do to make it stand up? What can you use so that it doesn't fall over? What can you use to make your structure sturdy, make it sound, and all of those kinds of things. So they learned a lot of the art competencies, a lot of the art skills, just doing this one project. And it was started all out with PE, which, you know, who knew? Art and PE, yeah, everything. Everything goes together.
Throw a little music in.
I think one of the best things that I realized from this is sometimes when you do things that say they're doing in the classroom, the kids will come down and be, oh, not here too. They didn't do that with the three of us. The way I think we pulled it together, it didn't seem like, oh, it's the same thing again. It was just different enough what we were doing, but enhancing each other's curriculum that it really
And I
made a
think
big
authentic
difference.
too.
Yes.
It didn't seem to them a contrived, or as you say, oh yeah, well, we're doing this upstairs, so oh boy, we got to do it here. You know, and it just felt natural.
Not the,
A
they're going to do
natural,
a butterfly in
real-life
art,
thing.
so we're going to fly
Yeah,
in
we're gonna do the
gem.
butterfly. No. The music of the butterfly.
Did anyone get that?
Yeah, the butterfly opera.
Yes.
Thank you.
Erin, yeah.
So how did you decide whose playlist played while you were doing the sculpture?
Oh.
The kids in art, the kids decide.
They decide. I know there's always music going.
There is
so-
music in art, yeah. And it's trouble, the clean version of things, and even
I
then
know.
you gotta be careful because the clean ain't so clean sometimes.
I discovered
So you
that,
just gotta,
a
you
week
gotta be
ago.
careful. But yeah.
Expression, right? Artistic expression.
That's awesome.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And thank you for moving your schedule up so that we can.
Oh, please.
Appreciate that.
Oh,
Happy. All right. All right, thank you.
That's great.
Moving where we are moving to correspondence and commendations. Anyone have anything there?
Yes.
Yes,
I would. I'd like to thank Carly Herlihy. As you might recall, we are currently without a systems administrator, and so we're doing standardized testing right now. So it's been a lot to do without someone in that role, and Carly has stepped up in a very big way to help with that. Her knowledge of technology has really been invaluable as we've made sure that everything was up and running for our students to be able to engage in the testing. So.
Great, thank you very much.
Yes, and with a smile.
My turn.
And Eric.
Yes, please. So he's here, the artist in residence. Jeffrey Irwin is here. So I want to commend our 4th and 5th grade teams for bringing him here. Karen Haas, Linda Donahoe, Catherine LaCroix, Cindy Dixon, Wendy Crowley, and Tricia Markey. Our 4th and 5th grade teams who've brought Junk to Funk here. You may have seen the staff and faculty doing a performance from yesterday morning. You'll see it as part of a presentation at next month's meeting. So the students are loving every minute of it. It's a great opportunity. So thank you to them. And just a general mention and commendation for the numerous, 15 and counting, faculty members who've given up their time to be on an interview committee or an interview team. Okay, so we haven't quite reached the finish line, but we're very nearly so, wrapping up with the halftime art position. But we've had multiple committees, both Tracy, myself, Becca, and there's another one coming up here with the interventionist next week. So thank you to all the teachers who volunteer their time.
Thank you, Eric.
Tomorrow, Paula and the kindergarten team have arranged for a kindergarten brunch. We have over 50 family members who've RSVP'd, so very excited to be able to host that.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
I have a quick commendation. I thought that presentation was fantastic to kind of bring the work that's being done collaboratively together. The energy that they had, you can see it, right? And I'm most impressed with the reflection to say, hey, this is what I do next time, differently, better, because we're learning here, right? So not only are they teaching the kids, they're learning themselves, and the energy is just awesome. That was great. Thank you for sharing that.
You see it with the students, like watching them go through this process.
You'd have
They're
to, right?
engaged. Oh yes, they're engaged, and it's what we want. Best instructions, so that they're each pushing themselves for their best. So thank you for noticing that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom.
My QPA.
All right.
We'll assess you later, Tom.
Thanks.
Some of it.
All right.
We got a rubric for you.
Education update, school council.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to speak to that. We really had two major items on the agenda. One was to have a discussion about what our next steps will be with our SEL program, Open Circle. So that was discussed at great length. We shared the feedback that we had received from the faculty. Ms. Vaz did a great job leading that discussion. And we are planning to bring the adoption of Open Circle to the faculty for vote. We initially had said at our next faculty meeting, we might be adjusting that to our professional development half day because our faculty meeting is getting kind of full and we don't want that conversation to be rushed. But we'll be voting on that shortly as a faculty. And the other one was I had actually shared out my desire to create a plan for creating some curriculum frameworks for next year. So I shared my plan that I had shared with the vertical grade level teams and shared that with the faculty, or with the Leadership Council, and discussed how we could make that happen through Leadership Council. And so we're planning on discussing it with our SIP work.
Thank you.
As
All right.
as the board member there that day for Greg, it was a great meeting. It really went well. I felt like there was a lot of positive feedback. The teachers were all collaborating and talking about it, and it just went like the whole vibe of the meeting was really positive and good. Nice to see.
Thank you. Any questions on that? No. No. Okay. Continuing business, board goals. I don't have anything specific to report on that. We'll be working on ours. We seem to have come up with a date, which we'll talk about at the end for our board retreat after much. Yeah.
I just have a quick question regarding the goals. I understand our retreat or our getaway is going to be late July, which is whatever we call it. It's going to be 4.5 months into our term, so to speak, and it seems somewhat late, and I'm a newcomer to this, so maybe this is standard, but I think it would be helpful if we have the opportunity, without violating 91A, so that we start to disseminate and talk among ourselves different goals, or at least start to put together ideas, put forth ideas, and start a discussion, so that by the time we get to late July, that we have got coalesced some pretty strong ideas, we've vetted them, so on and so forth, so that we're not going into that morning just cold and everybody goes around the room saying, I've got 2 ideas, I've got 6 ideas. I think it would be helpful if we could initiate this process sooner rather than later, so that we're not waiting 2.5 months to.
Well, we can start by, you can provide agenda ideas and thoughts. I mean, any collaboration we do that includes more than 3 of us has to be a public meeting.
Well,
so we would have to schedule meetings, or we'd have to do one-on-one meetings, just to that kind of communication. We can't have a group discussion with 3 members without scheduling a public meeting and posting a notice. So sorry, but also the goals aren't aligned with the election years. The goals are aligned with school years. So we're in our alignment with goals is the SIP plan for next year gets completed in June. And just because of scheduling, we can't meet immediately following that. So we're about a month later than we wanted to be, but it's not 4 months later because our goals aren't aligned around election years, they're aligned around school years. So that's, in terms of the timing, again, it was a scheduling issue where normally we would have done this in June, shortly after the SIP plan was done, to collaborate around that with our goal setting. But we can discuss ways to start the conversation or disseminate material beforehand so people can read and prepare for meetings. But any meetings that we have that are a group, we'll have to have scheduled as public meetings.
And forgive me for the naive questions, but can we have any email communications at all that we allow the public to have access or see those?
Not where you're
communications?
deliberating.
No.
No.
Makes it tough.
Yeah.
Do you propose us, I know we've talked about other dates where we know all of us can't be present, but just having the meetings set and maybe 3 of us are present at one of them and 3 other people are present at another one so that we can kind of get the ball rolling? Is that, I mean,
Yeah, anything that would
I'd
help.
be willing to do that and just set a meeting, and if 2 of us can make
We
it,
can
great.
do-
If 3
or
of us
we
can make it.
Yes, we can talk about, we could have board workshops if we just want to talk. We have to make sure those are
Work
publicly
session.
posted and we
Work
have someone to take minutes and provide minutes.
Work
All of that
session.
has to be done. Those would be work sessions. So we can discuss scheduling those in preparation of that. Again, scheduling is challenging. We saw that. It took a couple of weeks to find one afternoon that actually worked for everybody, the first week of August for our retreat. So, but we can, if you would like to do that, if people would like to do that, I can send an email to board members and we can see about doing a workshop. Again, I wouldn't, if that's for our purposes, for sort of prepping for that discussion with administrators, we can do that. But I wouldn't necessarily, expect our administrators to join those meetings if the intention is just to do some preliminary discussion ahead of that in terms of improving productivity time. Anyone have an issue with that if we try to start with one of those? Or
Yeah.
I mean, I think our retreats have been very productive in the past and
Yeah,
in terms of what we can get done in them. So I don't feel it's a necessity, but I'll defer to what the group.
So my observation is, your comments, when you look at it, make a lot of sense, but I think what James went on in terms of both following this academic year is important, as well as we've had a couple years where we had our retreat before the SIP plan, the school improvement plan came out, and there wasn't always great alignment that way. I think we're going to be more effective if we have the SIP plan, and as we're going through it, that we're working in collaboration with the administration, not the board independent of the administration. So I think, I get it, I hear what you're saying, I just think it's stronger together.
And if there's information that would be helpful to have people, go through before we have our retreat, if you want to meet, I'm happy to meet one-on-one with you and our administrative.
That will be the case.
Meet one-on-one and we can discuss and collect information and disseminate that out. We can disseminate information out, we just can't have a collaborative discussion on it via email or outside of a posted meeting. So we can certainly do plenty of work in terms of gathering information that we'd like people to have and prepare with before the retreat. So that's certainly possible. So we can do that. So I'd suggest, why don't you and I meet, soon and talk about that, and we can figure out a way that we can figure out what might be most productive to.
I don't want to create
sort of
more
address-
work, and
yeah.
excuse me for being the new guy, but I just, having sat through lots and lots of other board meetings, it's, a lot of times we do some prep prior to, and you vet a lot of stuff.
Oh, well, we'll have plenty of that. Okay. All right, we're gonna move on to new business. The green team, I wanted to, we had their presentation. I was gonna just suggest, since they are requesting that that there's an expenditure for that, I would suggest maybe you guys have a conversation about next year's budget and where we might find the
We might have some grant money.
Grant money.
use.
We were
Okay.
thinking grant money.
So
We were
what,
thinking
if we can just, we'll talk about that, and we can come back, and maybe if we need to approve that, or if we don't, if you can either make the decision if it can be done that way, or if you need
Before the next board meeting,
or
we
if you
can-
need the board to give the okay, we can do that at the next board meeting.
Well, before the next board meeting, we should know if we can
Yeah.
use grant money for that,
Yeah.
and then we can report out on that. So
Okay.
I can look into
Great,
that.
we
in
can
the next
find
few
a place
weeks.
for that, so, all right, that good for everyone? All right. Awarding of bids. Matt, you've got a few for us.
So as part of the 2019-2020 operating budget, long-term maintenance warrant article, and a truck lease warrant article. We do have a number of projects to award this evening that have reached the RFP $10,000 threshold that comes to the board. So the first project is for the asphalt and repair and seal coating for the west parking lot and courtyard. Bids were sent directly to 8 vendors. 3 attended the walkthrough and submitted bids. And the administration is recommending award of bid to New Hampshire Blacktop Sealers for the amount of $9,150. So this includes the base bid as well as the alternate, which includes the line striping. I will note that this is the first time that I have ever seen a bid come in. You'll note there are 2 bids that were the exact same amount of money, as well as Nancy Tuttle, who has been with the SAU business office for
30.
I won't say the number of years, but for a while.
More than 1 decade.
So I just want to note that we did determine this based on some positive experience that we did that when we have utilized New Hampshire Blacktop Sealers in the past. So it was just based on that criteria. Funding for this project will be used from the 2019-2020 long-term maintenance warrant article, and I will note that we budgeted $20,000 for this project.
Excellent. Any questions?
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Oh,
go ahead.
Scott.
Yeah, I don't have a question.
So Matt, a broader question with respect to the RFP process. It troubled me a little bit that of the 5 RFPs, 3 of them, we only got back 1 bid. And it's clear with RFPs that you can get pretty significant disparities in terms of the bids you receive back. I mean, the blacktop is a great example. Had we been in a situation where Northeast Sealcoating Company was the only respondent, we'd be paying $17,000 instead of $9,000. On the next one, for the painting, if FA Gray had been the only respondent, we'd be paying $24,000 instead of $13,000. And because of that, we don't know whether or not these other 3 bids are competitive or not. And if you would, just educate us a little bit on the RFP process, because it seems to me that it's not working as well as it should if we're receiving back just 1 proposal on some of these projects.
Well,
especially, and if I could, on the car one, it's super easy for car dealers to bid on a car. And it surprises me that, what was it, out of 6 car dealerships, only 1 responded.
Right.
So I don't understand that.
Well, the RFP process is a state law, so we don't have a choice in the matter. In regard to the car.
No, but I fully support RFPs, but with respect to us disseminating information and getting information out to vendors and contractors that can potentially do this, it just doesn't seem like it's working as well as it should if we're receiving back just 1 bid from six vendors.
Well, I mean, it's market conditions. We reach out to all qualified bidders or potential vendors. Certainly, we always want more than 1 bidder. However, we do conduct upfront work and talk to vendors to get an idea of the pricing. That's how we budget for the amounts. And as you'll see, I think every project came in under what we were originally quoted. So I think that's a gate. That's a mechanism to determine whether the bid is out of line. Certainly, when we had that initial discussion and had received quotes, and then these bids came in way over, then that's an issue. At that point, we go back and we do the process over again. We look at other ways to see if there were vendors maybe outside of our geographic area that we may want to explore. We go back, we have discussions with the vendors, encourage them to bid out. It's something that we work on, and we try to develop relationships to encourage these vendors to bid. However, unfortunately, we can't force anyone to bid out. In regard to the car,
if I could, and forgive me for interrupting, what is the process of notifying vendors and contractors that we're looking for a bid? If it's just generic painting an interior of a room or something like that, there's 200 painters in the Seacoast area. How do we notify the 200 or a subset of the 200 that we're looking to have paint work?
Well, we send them directly to the qualified contractors that we've vetted, and then we also post it online for anyone that.
Like on Craigslist or somewhere like that, or
On our website.
Okay, so a contractor has to proactively be looking at your website, looking for jobs on your website.
We also have construction companies like Construction Connect that pick up these bids, and they advertise it as well. So.
Okay, sorry I interrupted you on the truck. Excuse me.
Right, so that's a unique situation. It's not like your typical lease. These are municipal rates, and there's only a certain number of dealers that even work with us. So we certainly we certainly wanted to, would have preferred multiple bids, but again, we can't force them to bid it out. We went to both Ford and Chevy. We didn't specify a particular make, and this is what we got back, and it is under budget.
And you had similar experiences with similar types of bids in our other districts as well. I mean, the ones we did last night, for example, for Winnicott. You had vehicles, you had paving, you've had painting.
We did, but I guess to Scott's point, if there's a problem with the bid process, it would apply to Winnicott as well, right? Because I'm doing it for both. But I will assert that we certainly do everything in our power to develop. It's really about reaching out to these vendors and vetting them and marketing it.
And
But
I would say, it seems atypical that we only have one. It's,
Maybe
it seems
three or more,
typically
yeah.
we've had multiple quotes, and I don't know if that's a matter of contractors.
Our economy being
Yeah,
well
contractors
now,
are hard to find in
they're
lots
hard
of
to
different
find in
areas,
general,
as
right?
I found.
It is,
sort of
yeah,
thing.
it's-
So, I'm not
If
surprised.
anybody knows a good mason.
Yeah.
I do.
And actually, I think, and one of the things is with these, you noted like on the painting, we've seen this before, where contractors who, they don't really have the capacity for the work, but they'll throw a huge number on the table, and if they get it, they'll be like, great, and they'll push somebody else off. So we've seen that before, where we've had one or two bids that are low, and then a couple of other bids that are sky high, twice as much on something. So I think there's a little bit of that going on. But yeah, it is unusual that we have one. I'm not uncomfortable with one, especially because of the work they've done ahead of time. All of these things are well under budget. We're looking at like $32,000 less than what we budgeted for. on these.
I'm not
I'm just saying,
suggesting
but
we're getting
I
a
think-
bad deal on any
yeah.
of them, but
Yeah.
we just.
No, and I would say if we continued to see only one bidder on jobs going forward, I would agree, I'd be concerned, but I would say, yeah, I know you haven't seen too many of these bids before. It's unusual that we only have one, I would say. Typically, we're looking at three, sometimes four, qualified bids, so.
And I know the issue with the siding is they are booked out. We had three vendors who we spoke to that said we knew they weren't going to bid because they can't do it this summer. They're booked through the entire summer, and we have to do it this summer. When we go through the budget development process, that's where a lot of the legwork is done, working with multiple vendors to come up with that budgeted amount. So I'm not necessarily happy we only received one bidder on some of these projects, but I'm very happy with how the bidding resulted, the pricing, because there's an element of conservative budgeting here, because certainly with a warrant article, we don't want to go over, but these all came in pretty substantially under what we received, and we received real quotes. We didn't throw those numbers at a dartboard. So
I certainly understand the tradesmen, because it is nearly impossible to get any tradesmen these days. It surprised me a little bit on the car. I used to be in the car business, and I'm used to just dealers throwing something against the wall, and I'm surprised 4 or 5 of them.
Is it the case that they've talked about this in the town when buying vehicles, for example, the police cruisers, there's actually a designated dealer who wins a state bid? There's a process that the state uses to identify essentially a preferred dealer. Is that Grapponi?
I think that is the Grapponi.
Yeah, so it might be a result of that, where the state has a process by which they identify essentially a preferred vendor for purchase of municipal vehicles. So you'll see the town is always buying their cars through who everyone else in the state is buying their cars through, the police cars or other cars that they use. So it may be the fact that these other car dealers know that Grapponi is the designated
So
one.
the other 5
and
didn't have a
Grapponi
chance.
probably wins that by providing, they've probably won that designation from the state by providing the best pricing. And
at
so,
OneonOne, we had a board member who suggested that we get traditional lease pricing on a van purchase, and it actually, the pricing came out higher than our lease to own pricing, because they can't offer that municipal pricing for a traditional lease. So we'd end up spending $8,000 more, plus we'd be turning the van back. So.
All right, so we are back to the first bid, which is the asphalt repair and seal coating.
I move we approve the asphalt repair, seal coating, and line striping for to New Hampshire Blacktop Sealers for the amount of $9,150.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Next one is painting.
So the bid process has concluded for the proposed interior painting RFP. Bids were sent to 7 vendors. 2 attended the walkthrough and submitted bids. The administration is recommending award of bid to CertaPro Painters in the amount of $13,690. Funding will be used from the 2019-2020 operating budget, of which we had budgeted $18,000.
Are they who we used for the last year's? Or is it?
No, I believe we use Caprioli.
Oh, right, okay. That sounds familiar. Okay, thanks. They didn't bid again? It looks like.
They did not.
They did not, okay.
And they've done a lot of work for us too.
Okay.
So it's surprising.
They're booked up.
I have no explanation.
Yeah.
I wish I did.
Yeah,
But
no, I would guess it's that. Any questions about this one? And, and this is part of our regular cycle portion of the school every year?
Yes.
Okay.
I move we award the bid of interior painting to CertaPro Painters in the amount of $13,690.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Tom, you too?
Oh, yeah.
Thanks. Garage siding.
So the bid process has concluded for the proposed garage siding RFP. Bids were sent to 5 vendors, and 1 attended the walkthrough and subsequently submitted a bid. The administration is recommending award of bid to Skipjack Enterprises in the amount of $10,150. Funding will be utilized from the 2019-2020 long-term maintenance warrant article, of which we had budgeted $19,400.
May I ask you a question? So it came in way under budget. So when the bid went out, were like specs sent out?
Yes.
Like I know you've worked with engineers in the past for the roof or whatever to say this is what you have to do.
Right, because there are different quality of
Yeah.
the actual siding.
Yeah.
So we did specify a certain brand and quality.
All right. Thank you. Well, if that's the case then.
All right.
I move that we award the bid for garage siding to Skipjack Enterprises in the amount of $10,150.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. 3 down, 2 to go.
All right, so the bid process is also concluded for the proposed gym wall.
No pressure, though. No pressure.
Let's table this one.
Next year.
This is how I got him to come tonight.
We only received 1 bid, so sorry, Dan. So the administration is recommending award of bid to P&G Masonry for the amount of $16,450 for the proposed gym wall replacement. Funding will be utilized from the 2019-2020 long-term maintenance warrant article, of which we had budgeted $20,000.
Questions?
This is taking the whole wall down, building it back up.
Well, it's a temporary.
It's a temporary
like
wall.
fake
A movable
The
wall.
accordion wall will be gone.
Right, so as you are playing beautiful music, you can hear the shrieks of dodgeball, for example, coming through the wall. Right.
That's not integrated
Adds a
curriculum?
certain ambiance.
It's not capable of moving.
Right. During meditation time.
20-year
Real
temporary wall. It's
symbiotic
probably
experience.
outlived its useful life, so. All right. Any
Tear down that
questions?
wall.
All right.
Build the wall.
Go ahead.
Oh, gosh.
So I move that we approve the gym wall replacement to P&G Masonry for the amount of $16,450.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Great, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Will this happen this summer? Is that the idea?
Yes, yes. I've already picked out the posters I'm gonna put on the wall.
Very nice.
And one more. Well,
that
before we
get
get into the
painted
truck, I just have a general question about,
Is it gonna get painted?
back to the issue of we're coming in significantly under budget. Thrilled to see it. You'll have to remind me of the rules. The money that we don't expend in the warrant article for long-term maintenance, can we target that towards other projects we've identified?
We could
If there's, for other long-term maintenance items that we didn't necessarily pencil in for this coming year, but if we have the money available, can we do that?
So yes,
Okay.
we do have I'm not sure if you've seen this, Scott, but we have a long-term maintenance plan by year. So we could accelerate that following year with any of those projects up. So at the next board meeting, I could bring forth some of the options.
Yeah, if we can, maybe we can just include that to just have it so we can start thinking about where we'd want to apply that,
Right.
because we would have to do that. I'd want to,
Depending on the project, we'd want to do it sooner than later.
well, and also going into the CIP that you're going to be on, we'd want to identify which ones would have to go into next year's CIP versus we're going to try to
Right.
do them now. So we'd want to maybe have that conversation.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks. All right, back to the truck.
James, could you,
Yeah.
if I could you educate me a little bit on the CIP process? Because I am the representative for it. Do we have a group session where we talk about the priorities?
No,
Capital?
we do, it's, the 30-second version, and we can have a longer conversation after, I'm happy to do that, is our capital, we have, as Matt said, we have a 5-year, we've already laid out 5 years worth. So our administrators are always working on keeping that fresh. So from our perspective as a school going to the CIP, it's very easy for us to bring, here's our plan, and we meet and talk about it with administrators or things, and then bringing those to the CIP. So for our part, we have a very detailed plan of the specific items we look to address going 5 years out. So that's easy to bring.
Prioritized?
Essentially, yeah, they're prioritized, by year or by, and we look at, we have specific items, like roof items tend to be, broken out as a separate warrant article. Then we have these long-term maintenance items that are generally grouped into a warrant article to address. And the reason we do a long-term maintenance article for some of these capital projects is that my understanding is that in the past, they were constantly being neglected. They were constantly being squeezed out of the operating budget. No, let's just put that off. And then there was a lot of deferred maintenance. So it said, well, we need to put these in front of the voters and make them understand that if they want to reject them, they can, but they should understand that these are the kinds of things that are being neglected and that we should do them. And it's been a very productive process, I think, for the town-wise. But as a member of the CIP, your purview will go far beyond just what the school's doing. It's all the stuff in town too. So, but we can have a longer discussion about that. Happy to do that.
Quick question.
Yeah.
The wall that's being put up, is that being painted? And is that part of the painting?
I don't know the answer to that. I will.
Well, I'm just thinking that if it's a new wall in the gym, it's technically not painted now. It's gonna, right? Or are these people
I'm sure we
gonna
can
paint it?
find an answer to
That's
that,
an
whether it's going
excellent
to be
question.
painted.
It's an excellent
Get me a
question.
can of paint.
Yeah.
Painting party. All right.
Perhaps.
We'll get to, we'll figure that out, all right? All right. All right,
All right.
Chuck.
So the bid process has concluded for the proposed truck lease, which is a 3-year lease with a $1 buyout. Bids were sent to 6 vendors, 1 submitted a bid, and the administration is recommending award of bid to Grapponi Ford for the amount of $12,680.83. Funding for this project will be utilized from the truck warrant article, of which we had budgeted $16,500.
This is for like an F-250 or something?
250.
Yes. In the plan.
Is that all right with you, Aaron?
And the next 2 years' worth would go into the operating budget?
That's right.
Correct.
Okay.
I move we approve the truck lease purchase to Grapponi Ford in the amount of $12,680.83.
Second.
Further questions, discussion? All those in favor? Great, thank you. All right.
Thanks, Matt.
Takes care of all of our bids. Thank you, Matt. Written reports. Dr. Lupini.
So the first item that's not part of the report is that I've brought you a gift tonight. That's the general assurances.
I have a lot of initialing to do.
Yes, you have a lot of initialing and a signature to place on that, which allows us to access federal grants. It
Okay.
has to be done by the chair. We had a session with NHSBA, the School Boards Association, Nicole Highmark, on the new Department of Education Code of Ethics and Code of Conduct. We will be doing something, I think, with our Teachers Association in the fall for all staff on that. The major focus of that for our administrators was their responsibilities under that, ramifications for teachers in our practice. I thought Nicole did a terrific job with that. And you have a copy. I think we've given you a copy as part of your May packet. We're planning our administrative retreat for the summer, and one of the key aspects of that will be educator evaluation. This year's focus, beyond sort of the plan, which we now have in place, will be around writing effective observation summaries, conferencing with teachers, and then we'll actually be doing some work throughout the school year so that administrators from different buildings can observe with each other across buildings to sort of calibrate the work that they do. So that'll be a big part of this summer. Dr. Hobbs has put together parents, faculty, board members, leaders from across the districts and the SAU as our competency-based design team to take that plan that was referenced earlier and really bring some more flesh to that, right? So we're going to put that team together, take a look at some of these really key issues like grading, assessment, reporting, move when ready, all those kinds of things, communication with our communities. And that team, which I think is somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 people now, somewhere in that neighborhood, yeah, will start their work at the 2Rev Competency-Based Learning Conference, which is in Exeter in July. So
20 people, yes.
20 people. So the great thing about that conference is it gets us a chance to interact with at least these districts that I've specified here and others, and gives us a lot of time for planning. Don't forget, I think everyone here has already signed up for one of the NHSBA board training sessions, which are on May 29th and June 3rd. Thank you for doing that. And again, we're either going to have Barrett Christina and or Will Phillips with us those evenings to really talk about roles and responsibilities for board members. And the last item involves going paperless. So I understand there was a conversation a few years ago across the districts about going paperless, and at that time decision was made not to do that. We're looking for districts to pilot that experience. I will tell you that so far we're 4 for 4 on piloting it. So I guess if 5 do it, it's not really a pilot anymore, is it?
Yeah.
This would involve, we're not sure exactly yet, but we did take a look at a platform today that would allow us to do sort of online planning of agendas, would allow you to access both public and non-public materials for meetings, would allow the public to access policy manuals, public documents. I'll tell you 2 questions we've been asked by other board members because I now know the answer. Yes, you would be able to make notes and all on an agenda or other documents in that online environment without printing copies, because as one board member said, if I have to print copies, then it's not paperless, is it? And there was a second question that we were asked that we sort of got an answer to today, and I don't remember what it was. So we've got a number of boards that are interested in doing that. We're looking at the appropriate environment. Oh, I know what it was. It was searchable policy manual. So we could have your policy manual available there in an environment where people could search it by keyword. So if somebody wanted to see all your policies that mention bullying, they could do that without having to go through each and every one of them.
Yeah.
So we're still looking at this. We're looking at cost, all those kinds of things. What it would entail is making sure that you had a device in your hand. So in all the programs I've seen like this, there are school-issued devices that are put in the hands of board members for their tenure on the board. Sometimes they're limited to only that particular set of platforms, those kinds of things, but that's the normal thing that I've seen. I don't know if they do that in Wellesley or not, but I've seen a number of places where that's the case. So I guess we want to know, do you want to be part of this nearly every district in the SCU
Universal
pilot? Universal.
So this
Like
is
that.
the start of, since March.
Yes.
Like, I have.
And then you just have this.
I could
Do you
just
have a comment on that, or?
I would rather not.
Oh, okay.
have this. And, you know, as you see, you get the same thing from the joint board.
She is a green team leader, remember?
I know. And
I think it was actually the joint board packet that motivated some people to ask this question again, and maybe there was a method to our madness. Maybe we
yeah.
did that on purpose.
I mean, I support it fully. But it
Have a
would
ream
be-
of paper.
Yes. I think it's great. You think it's great. Good.
Rhonda votes yes.
I would certainly be in
Because
favor.
I feel like across the board, you're going to save a lot of money too. You're going to save money on the postage, on printing, on all that.
It's actually, I mean, if set up the right way, it satisfies right to know requirements. I mean, there's a lot of things that are sort of side benefits to pursuing this, other than the fact that we can operate in a paperless environment, but that's important too.
So for starters, we could have our own device, like, right, you're saying, just like a device.
Yeah.
We have a couple steps to do to cost all that out and those kinds of things yet.
I just from experience on another board that switched to this a number of years ago, was one of the biggest benefits was being able to pull up an old packet or an old agenda or something like that without rifling through which shelf and which thing had that or which download. So that's, to me, it's a huge benefit in terms of access to information and being able to disseminate it quickly and easily, so. So, any objections to
No,
questions?
my only comment is if whatever the platform is allows for people to use their own device as an option, that would be great. So that we only have to issue devices to people who don't have a device. If you have to use an issue device, that's fine.
I don't think any of them necessarily do that. I'm worried about our data governance plan, those pieces. So more to be determined on that.
Whatever you need to
Thank
do.
you.
Just make sure the app is on Jason's list.
Another.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes, we will, yes.
A quick date thing, administrative retreat,
Yes.
August 6th.
Yes.
That's when we were planning our board.
It is.
I know,
They worked
you're
around
going
it.
to, we're going to come to the board, we're going to come to your retreat following our day.
Our administrators are
So
making
we will be
a
fresh and
large
ready for
sacrifice
conversation,
to-
yes.
They are double dipping that day.
Good.
And I
Yes.
thank Bill profusely for that because it was very hard to find a date that worked for all of us, so. No, it was all of, I mean, everyone has traveled.
Most
Greg
of
has
yours.
traveled, I have traveled, yeah. Tom will be off the grid for a while, so.
That's my report. Thank you.
Scott was our most flexible member in that, so
August
kudos
6th,
to you.
that's really cool.
Yeah. All right, sorry. Ronna, thank you for your earlier report. Administrative report?
Speaking of going paperless, Becca and Tracy and I noticed this evening at about 5 of 7 that in your packet you will find the April administrative report. So here comes the May administrative report.
I was just like, we're reading about
I
the
noticed I noticed it over the weekend and forgot to send you a note.
Please
It's
take
like,
a-
oh, I gotta.
Please take a
Excuse
copy.
me, how is that going paperless?
Well,
Sorry.
Right.
starting now.
The benefit of going paperless.
So I shouldn't ask my questions from April tonight?
Well, you can.
Go right ahead. Go on, Jess. Oh, sorry. Yes, thank you. Thank you, thank you. And, yep. So, a brief report other than this month, other than the synthesis of, for the Climate, Culture, and Communication Task Force, which you'll see afterwards. Another kudo, really, could go out to the art show and book fair organizers. It seems like Marcia Zavez is getting a commendation or multiple every month, and she was here earlier. But thank you to Marcia Zavez and Pam Sheridan, our art teachers, and to Betsy McCombs, our library media specialist, for organizing the art show and book fair. Last week it was
Fair back. It was a really neat family event. Yeah, it was awesome.
so much positive energy and spirit, throughout the building.
Things going on in different, like,
It was a
So,
cool night.
so far in terms of our SAS, Student Accountability System testing, as you know, we chose to, because we can, get a late start because of our technology capacity. So far, our 5th grade has had 2 testing sessions, and our 3rd grade has had 2 testing sessions, with the rest coming up next week. But we have the capacity both in terms of servers, networking, and devices to make multiple sessions happening at the same time. And it's so far so good, and it'll go off without a hitch. We'll get back to the CCC committee. Field trips. Becca, could you first talk about STEM Day at Fenway?
Oh yeah, we had a wonderful day. The weather was held out for us, which was nice. A little drizzly when we first got there, but the kids got to enjoy some presentations from vendors that came to share with the students. PAL gave each student $20 for lunch. It's one of the donations that's in your packet, which was wonderful. Going to Fenway and being able to enjoy the food was a great experience for the kids. And then we watched the Sox win a game, so it was a really great experience for the 7th grade, and everyone had a wonderful time. So.
And 2 days ago, with the 8th grade, myself and Patrick Guidi and Eric Whitney, the 3 chaperones, we traveled with the 8th grade. Another drizzly, rainy, gray day. We've had a few. But we went to the JFK Presidential Library and Museum, followed by the Edward Kennedy Senate Experience. Really cool. I recommend it highly. So we started out at the Library and Museum. We spent about an hour and 45 minutes there. Had lunch over at the EMK, and then the culmination of their of the curriculum is a mock Senate. So we have senators in training, and we're sitting in a life-size replica of the Senate chamber, and we're arguing the merits of the BLAST Act, and then our students, our 8th graders, voted on the BLAST Act. And the BLAST Act has to do with, very quick, whether or not senators should be able to be lobbyists after their terms. So I don't remember what the results were. I think it came out 25 to 12 against the BLAST Act. So if the BLAST Act is passed, they would not be allowed to be lobbyists. But it failed, so 2/3 of our students approximately thought, based upon the merits of the argument, that they should be able to. So although some argued for perhaps amendments or additions or adjustments there. So anyways, it was a great day. We left here at about 8 o'clock. We got back at 4:08. A day well spent. So thank you. And in terms of talking through the synthesis of the CC&C task force, these are our main topics. You can see our needs, our next action steps, and the faculty will be working on that moving forward. Anything you want to add on
I
that?
just
Becca?
looking at the events, the plant sale. We did neglect to talk about that. Joel is our greenhouse manager. And he did an amazing job working with the teachers and the students getting all those plants ready. They raised, I think, over $750 from the plant sale, so that will go towards the maintenance of the greenhouse. And upkeep
I've
of
heard that parents are hoping that they do it again. There were a lot that didn't make it, and they were wondering if things are still for sale. They would love if they did it again for another hour, maybe next week or.
I will speak with Joel about that and find out what we have left over. So,
Composted it.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions for administrators?
So I have one quick question on the CCC, on the actions. Is this the CCC team that's taking care of following up with these actions? And is it by a when, or is this just like a keeping it on the radar?
It was really a synthesis of our work with Dr. Hart and our last meeting that we had with her, and kind of the takeaways from it, trying to put them into categories of needs that we have and actions that could address some of those needs. So it's really kind of a running list for us to then, okay, now what are we going to move forward with?
Gotcha. So it's not a who by when action.
Right. Yeah.
It's just let's keep this in front of us and keep the dialogue going.
Help to inform next steps.
The idea is to be determined at the Leadership Council retreat, that much of this will be written into in some form into the school improvement plan.
Other questions? No? All right. Thank you. Report back.
So in your packets, we've included the year-to-date expenditure and revenue reports. Now, as we near the end of the fiscal year, we have a month and a half. We'd like to take a look at, how we're well, we're always tracking, but whether it makes sense to make any withdrawals from our special education expendable trust or other trust funds. We have the health insurance expendable trust, building maintenance. So as of the date on these expenditure reports, we have approximately $90,000 in available funds. That being said, as we finish up the year, we're estimating expending another $35,000 approximately. We have items that aren't encumbered, such as the food service transfer, payments of stipends for our spring coaches and advisors. We also expect to receive probably $18,000, which is not reflected in this expenditure report for student activities, which is about $6,000, and then the building maintenance trust, which we've received. It just hasn't been reflected in the expenditure report. So all told, that's approximately $73,000 available balance that that should fall in that range by the end of the year. Now, it's not just the expenditure side. We need to look at the revenue side as well. We forecast our revenues, and then the town assesses accordingly. And we do have some accounts that we've exceeded revenue forecasts. That this includes tuition. So if Northampton takes in a preschool student from a neighboring town, or any K through 8 student, we receive tuition, as well as special education aid, bank interest, and REAP funding. So we are estimating approximately $80,000 above forecast. So we're right in that $150,000 range for a total unreserved fund balance, which aligns fairly well with our expendable trust withdrawals, which we had not withdrawals, warrant articles that were passed at ballot this past spring. So we have a special education warrant article for $75,000 and a health insurance expendable trust for $75,000. For your, just to note, we have $232,000 in the Special Education Trust currently, and our target is $300,000. So should this be fully funded, we will have hit that target, which is a good thing. Similarly, we're at $120,000 for the Health Insurance Trust, and that target is $200,000. So we are on track to be able to fund those two trusts, and we are not recommending that we make any withdrawals. We'd essentially be taking it out to then put it back in if we were. On that note, with the Health Insurance Trust, if you recall, this past year we budgeted for our health insurance accounts $85,000 less than we actually are forecasting, knowing that we had that expendable trust to pull from. Also, understanding that that was based on the guaranteed maximum rate that we received from Health Trust back in October, which is revisited in March. So we did receive that revisit rate, and that came in at 14.3%. We also have some savings.
Sorry, what was the original number? Can you remind me? 18.5, thanks.
We also recognize savings because as part of the collective bargaining agreement that passed, we went from a 3-tier prescription plan to a 5-tier prescription plan. So all told, based on our current teachers with their current plans today, that's an important caveat.
Nothing's going to change, right?
I'm sure there will be no childbirths or marriages or whatnot. We should see about $70,000 in savings. So we're very close to where we had to recognizing that amount. So I'm hopeful that we won't need to withdraw next year from that expendable trust.
And that could improve by people's choice of plans.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because as you're aware, we're removing the Blue Choice plan in 2020, 2021, and we're really encouraging our teachers to take a look and plan ahead for when they do switch over to their health plans. We're having informational health insurance sessions at all of our schools to really show all our teachers, what their options are, because Blue Choice is the most expensive plan, but it's not necessarily the best plan for each individual or family. And we're trying to encourage our teachers to be proactive, knowing that Blue Choice plan is going away. And we feel that we might see some people transition to lower cost plans this coming year. We're currently in an open enrollment, so we'll have a better idea in July. But we are hopeful to see some savings there as well.
The union's been a great partner in trying to educate people about other plans, given that plan's going away, and the benefit for people of actually making that choice before the plan goes away. So they've been terrific.
Great. Thank you. Any questions for Matt? No? All right. Okay. Budget Committee is not meeting yet. Facilities report and school nutrition report are in your packets. If you have any questions about those, we can ask our capable administrative team. CIP hasn't started yet, but Scott, like we said, we'll talk about that. And then Winnicott update, you have the Winnicott Principals report in your packet, and Henry's not here.
Graduation June 7th. You may
Thank
know
you.
the speaker.
I might.
Yes.
What day is graduation?
Friday.
Friday,
The
June
7th, June 7th. Can I just say one other word that's about something that's not in the report, but her name is, it's interesting, and her name's all over the report. One of our seniors, Lydette O'Connor, who's mentioned here 3 or 4 times, she was actually largely responsible for bringing Judge Broderick here. There are a number of other things where she's mentioned. She right now is in Florida at a Council of Chief State School Administrators Conference, state commissioners, presenting her ELO on the issue of being a student of color in schools that are largely not made up of students of color, and that experience. And she is, she's done an amazing job of soliciting input both in the school, doing research on that, I know Bill McGowan is having her speak to his administrative team. I've asked her to come and speak to our principals group and all of our administrators, if I can pull them all together to do that, because she's done some really amazing work, and it's a great example of what ELOs can be. Extended learning opportunities, where students can gain credit for something outside of the classroom. So I just want to mention Lydette's name because I think she comes back this weekend, but she's there presenting now to Chief School Administrators.
Super.
Thanks.
Thank you.
That's very cool.
And we have a couple of nominations to discuss in non-public before
do.
we act on them. Meeting dates, our next regular scheduled meeting is Thursday, June 20th at 7 o'clock. The joint board looked at the new schedule proposal.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
So do we need to act on?
So beginning in August,
Yeah.
you can start if you'd like at 6:30. Because we,
On the, if you, I don't know if you're, Aaron, did you see the new schedule? Okay, so Tom and Scott, you were there, I believe. The schedule proposal that the SAU has been working on is, we talked about this, the stack meetings and make them
Yes,
more efficient.
definitely.
So the possibility for us that was penciled in was to switch to the first Thursday,
I believe that's right, with Southampton.
first Thursday of the month instead of the third Thursday of the month. And we would start at 6:30. And so we would be stacked with Southampton. They'd go at 4:30 and then we'd go at 6:30. Unless, I have no issue with that. We have plenty of lead time to do that, and I think the stacking schedule makes sense. So, that will start with our August 1st, our first regular meeting, which I think would be August 1st. It is. And then we don't have a July meeting scheduled. We usually take a break during that month.
Right. Thank you.
So with no objection, we'll have them start penciling us in for
No
that
objection
date.
at all. Someone needs to communicate to PAL our schedule change, I think, though.
We have a complete
Yeah.
schedule.
Yeah.
Yes, so we can make sure they have the complete schedule.
Yeah.
That's fine.
All right.
Because they have,
Sure.
and it's different now. They reorganize, whatever, but they've been trying to do it on the same night. So they just need to know.
Okay, great.
We'll do that. Thank you.
We'll do
Staying
that.
out of it.
All right, and again, as we communicated over email, we are set for August 6th at 4 p.m. Location to be determined for our retreat.
4 p.m.
We'll go into the evening. We can work out about 4 p.m.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. I missed
Yeah,
that.
we'll be at
Okay.
UNH, so
So yeah, they'll
still
have
have time to
here.
get back.
We could, if there's any preliminary, we could start half hour earlier while they're
Yeah.
coming and we wanted
It's
to
fine by me.
deal
I
some
just-
preliminary.
I
So
just made the assumption
maybe
that it was
pencil in
early.
3:30 and then we'll talk about, we can make arrangements for location and food and,
And 8th grade graduation is
Thursday,
June 13th.
13th at 6 o'clock.
I will be here. You're on my list.
Good luck with all your graduations.
Thank you, sir.
It's a busy weekend.
So I will make a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A32B.
Second.
second.
That needs a roll call vote. James?
Aaron.
Tom, you have to say your name.
Oh, I'm
Scott.
Okay,
Scott.
and so we will go into non-public.
Poof.